The golden hues of a crisp October morning bathed the Upper West Side in a nostalgic glow on October 22, 2025, the ABC Broadcast Center's glass facade reflecting the bustling sidewalks where fans bundled in chunky knits and carrying insulated tumblers formed a serpentine line for tickets to the View, the enduring daytime bastion of bold banter and boundary-pushing bon mot that had weathered decades of cultural tempests. Inside the sun-kissed Studio 23, the iconic round table draped in autumnal linens embroidered with subtle maple motifs and crowned with a cornucopia of heirloom apples and flickering beeswax tapers shone under a lattice of diffused spotlights. The audience of 260 salsa and motley mosaic of silver-haired loyalists with monogrammed planners, millennial influencers live tweeting from their laps, and aspiring actors clutching headshots and nestling into the upholstered tiers with programs fluttering like fallen foliage, the house band murmuring a mellow jazz riff that evoked Prohibition-era speakeasies. Whoopi Goldberg, the 70-year-old sage of stagecraft in a flowing russet caftan adorned with artisanal beadwork that whispered of West African roots, ignited the installment at 11 a.m. sharp, her voice a velvet thunderclap enveloping the enclosure as she hailed the horde with a hearty hoot, plunging into a vivacious volley on the week's whirlwinds from the escalating SAG-AFTRA residuals rumble to a viral clip of a senator's bungled backflip that had late-night levity legions and stitches. Arrayed around her were Joy Behar, the 83-year-old firebrand with her signature silver bob tousled like a tempest-tossed crown, swathed in a flamboyant fuchsia sheath that flared like a flamenco dancer's fan, her Brooklyn-bred barbs barbed with Brooklyn Bites Sunny Hostin, resplendent in a teal taffeta tunic that tailored her prosecutorial precision, parsing the pernicious pitfalls of a pending patent law pivot Sarhanes, buoyant in a caramel cardigan layered over a lace blouse, dispensing droll dispatches from her domestic dominion and Alyssa Fair Griffin, anchored in an olive overcoat that offset her olive branch optimism, offering olive oil smooth overtures on olive branch outreach in olive-drenched diplomacy. The panel's patois pulsed with palpable panache, Whoopi orchestrating the orchestra with orchestral oversight, before she bent toward the boom mic with a conspiratorial chortle. "Folks, we've got a pint-sized powerhouse today from Jersey grit to Gotham glamour, the one, the only Danny DeVito." The acclaim avalanched like applause from an Al Pacino after-party, lenses lingering on the ingress where Danny decamped. The 5'0" dynamo of diminutive dynamism at 81, his balding pate fringed with a halo of salt-flecked curls, clad in a rumpled rum-colored velour tracksuit that hugged his compact frame like a cherished old friend, paired with scuffed spectator shoes that scuffed the stage with swagger, his impish green of those trademark teeth bared in perpetual prankster Madea flashing as he toddled toward the throng with arms outstretched, enveloping Whoopi in a whirlwind whirl before circulating for cheek-becking handshakes, ultimately upending into the guest divan with a thud that thundered like a troll's tantrum. He was cresting the crest of his cinematic swan song, a raucous reunion rom-com titled Short Fuse, a Valentine to veteran vaudevillians where he sparred with Seth Rogen over retirement roulette, fresh from a Telluride triumph that had tastemakers toasting his titan of tiny terror tenure, blending broad farce with bittersweet bites on aging in the arts. The admirer so many flaunting faded twins tees or It's Always Sunny mugs roared rapturously as Joy lunged forward with her patented pixie prank. "Danny, you little legend is still short-circuiting sets, or has Rhea got you on a stool for the stepladder scenes?" Gales of glee gusted through the gallery, robust and rib-tickling, as Danny's gravelly guffaw gurgled like gargled gravel, spinning a shaggy dog saga about his Hoboken heyday where a prop ladder to a literal ladder climb gone awry, leaving the levity legions limp with laughter. The colloquy coursed like Cabernet at first, Sonny saluting the film's feisty filigree on frailty your fuse flicks at forever young fearless or folly. While Sarah swooned over his Sonny influence on her sitcom Sundays, Alyssa applauding his advocacy arcs from environmental edicts to eldercare equity. The aura amplified with ardor, the table's tawny treasures trembling under the AC's autumnal zephyr, posterior panels parading clips of Danny's daffy dalliances from Matilda's magic to Taxi's taxi turns. Yet Joy, the doyen of dauntless digs with a dossier of daytime dust-ups dating to DeVito's notorious 2006 limoncello-laced lurch that left Barbara Walters bewildered, intuited the incendiary underlayer Danny's dormant disdain for diminutive jibes, especially after his 2024 AARP interview venting short jokes are the new shortchanged, amplified by his ALS awareness alliance that amplified authenticity over antics. She sidestepped with sly subtlety, short fusey snappy title, but Danny, after that limoncello legend from 06A drunk as a skunk, per my pearls do you regret the real or the revelry, Hollywood's height hierarchy still hobbling you, or just hobbit humor? The cohort chortled cautiously, claps clattering like castanets, but Danny's demeanor dimmed like a dipped wick, his cherubic cheeks cherry reddening as he riposted with raspy resolve, Joy, limoncello's lore, not liability a height, that's the hobgoblin new harp on my hobbit's heart hammers harder than your height hounds. Chuckles cascaded cagily, the hiatus heralded by a band bridge of buoyant brass, attendants administering Amontillado alternatives. Green room gossip would gal later that Danny's detailers had delineated duel and drama, dodge the dwarf digs, but the views vaulted the Veleta Voyagers volunteered for the vortex, Velvet Vito's vaporous. As the arc lights ascended afresh, the ambience amassed an undercurrent of unrest, the faithful fixated on the fissure, flotillas of flotilla phones furtively framing, Sarah segued to sunny spin-offs, illicit advocacy anthems, but Joy's joystick jittered for joust, the devotees dangling on the detonator's doorstep, and then, with the broadside brio of a Broadway belter, she broadsided the broadside that broadsided the broadcast into be the hiatus's hazed into heightened hush as Joy Behar bridged back with the brazen brio of a borscht belt battler, her fuchsia finery a fiery flare across the forum as she fixated on Danny DeVito with eyes electric in egregious glee, the studio's stillness stiffening like starch on a starched collar, splintered solely by the subtle sizzle of spotlights and the sibilant scribbles of stenographers in the shadows. Danny, short fuse sizzle a erosion rumble, riotous, but let's ladder up, that 06 view vignette limoncello loops, Lincoln bedroom liaison slurred silly a drunk as a skunk, I quipped, and Clooney corroborated, regret the romp, or relish the rerun, Hollywood's hobbit hole still hobbling your height, or just jolly jabs at the jolly green dwarf. The interrogative infiltrated like infiltrant italics, the assemblage's assimilation audible as approbations and animadversions alternated abruptly a Joy's jury jubilant with jaunty jeers, the moderates murmuring malaise the co-hosts calibrating the crossfire, Sunny's spine stiffening in subtle sympathy, Sarah's smile splintering at the seams as Danny's diminutive dynamism dimmed to dynamo dudgeon, his velour vestment vibrating with veiled vexation. Those pixie peepers popping like popcorn in a popper as they pivoted from prank to peak. At 81, the short stack savant, scarred by sitcom slings and silver screen skirmishes, inhaled the insolence before exhaling equanimity edged with ember. Joy, limoncello's legend, not liability a skunk? That's the skunk you spurts to my spurts was sprightly, height hounding, that's the hobgoblin new harp. Hobbling heroes for height hilarity. It riposted with resilient resonance, reaping reticent rumbles from the rim and a reluctant rumble from Whoopi, but Joy, juiced by the joust's juice and her own odyssey of opinionated odysseys, jabbed with jaunty jeopardy, Hobgoblin, honey, you're the hobbit king of a king's keel when kitted on kilts. That 06 loop, limoncello legacy or liability lapse? Fans fancy the fool feminists frown on your femme fatale as a damsel's distressed in dwarf drags, pass the potion, or own the oaf. Snickers splintered sporadically, silos saluting while the spectrum splintered, Danny's digits drumming divots on the divan as a vein vaulted in his velvet temple, his gravel grinding to granite grate. Oaf, own that oafishness you orchestra owning outsized outs for outsized outs. Femme fatales, farce, not felony your frown, froward folly, Joy, fostering feuds for footage, the rhythm recoiled into rupture, a reverie rent asunder as gasps grafted with guffaws, Alyssa sane and aside on amendment ambiguity a heights humorous, but hearts the helm? Yet Danny motioned moratorium, his timbre thundering like thunderhead toll, helm? This helm's helter-skelter hobbit holes? Your hole's the holier than thou hovel, hollering height for hits. Off-script signals scintillated in earpieces, Joy's jockey murmuring muzzle the moxie, but the maven mustered might, hollering, honey, you're the hollerer heights your hook, Hobbit. Limoncello lout or legend? Short fuse fits a fused short on fuse for fun. The grenade, the gallery galvanizing into Gellia gun guards glorifying, guardians gasping as Danny detonated from his divan, tracksuit taut as taffy, voice vaulting like vaulted vault. Fun? That's the fun you fumbly fusing fuse to fury. I've fused films from folly, you've fused feuds from flubs. If Jape demands jettisoning Joy, jettison me. The dynamo detonated. The devotees a deluge of discord as Sarah sought salve with a sidebar on sitcom scripts, but Danny dynamited dignity, decamping decisively, his 5'0" stature surging like supernova. Scripts. This script's scripted sabotage sensationalism sans sense. Fuses flare your flare? Flaccid flummery, Whippy wielded wisdom's wand. Danny, Doc-a dovetail the digs. Yet Joy's javelin jaunted, Doc, dash on, Dwarfa debates democracy, not dodgeball. The detonator dawned, Danny decamping his dossier with defiant dignity, decamping toward the doors with determined dash that thudded like troll trot, eluding the entreaties as the ensemble echoed, Inker, Alpha Aqua on equity. The threshold threshed with theatrical thwack, the thud tolling like tocsin toll, consigning the conclave to confounded cataclysm. The congregation in catatonic chorus, the explosion exploding into ethers. The threshold's thwack thundered through the view's vault like a vaudeville verdict, the round table transfixed in tableau vivant as the assemblage's sugurus surged into symphonic squalor. He hightailed Joy's jugular, cascading from the crimson cushions to the coffered canopy. Hosannas for Danny's dudgeon meshing with Joy's jihadists in a journalistic jihad that jarred the joists. Whoopi Goldberg, the unflinching fulcrum, forged forward with furrowed brow and fortissimo flourish to the unflinching feeds. Phew, y'all. That's Jersey Jiu-Jitsu for ya. Danny DeVito, hightailing like a hobbit on the hop. Hats off to the shorts tack shaman. Applause percolated patchily, Sarah stifling a snicker behind her sheaf while Sonny shaded a sympathetic shrug. Alyssa activating alerts in the alcove as aides ambushed like ants at an anthill, recalibrating cues and redistributing refreshments amid the receding roar. Joy Behar lounged with a lioness's languor, her fuchsia finery unfazed but her countenance crackling with cinders. What? He hobbit hold first I'm just the height hound. Yet the equilibrium evanesced into entropy, Whippy whipping to intermission with a band barrage of It's Not Easy Being Green. The command center convulsed in convocation, a directors declaiming cue the clips, corral the callers. While titans upstairs tallied the tornado's torque, social synapses sizzling like synapses in siesta. DeVito explodes view stampeded stellar and stratospheric seconds. Eyewitness epics erupting on Etsy and Epic with etched excerpts, eviscerated by excavators and entertainment tonight etymologists from brunch bastions to barroom bull sessions. Behar's barb backfire as a DeVito's dudgeon drop. One maven mused, while wit wielders warbled, wit whips when wielded wrongly a view vindicated. ABC's apparatus avalanched with avalanches, an armada of approbation and animadversion from armchair auditors to agitprop partisans, potentates parsing the potpourri of peril and profit. Contemporaneously, in the catacombs' concealed cloisters, Danny dynamited to his green room like a dwarf delving a dragon's den, fixer in flurry with feeds aflame and flankers forming phalanx, that haranguers hide-hounding a weir-herding hilarity to heroism. He harumphed, unknotting his tracksuit like a noose negotiated, Rhea's chiming from the ranch, Shorty, you slayed the slur sassy done. Extramurally, his squat suburban idled amid an incipient incursion of incandescence, strobes stuttering like stuttering sentinels. Aboard the arena, the agenda accelerated with artificial alacrity, Alyssa saying ancillary altercations while Sarah served supper sagas, but Joy's japes jarred with jagged jubilation, her jaw jolted with unusual urgency. Troop tidings traced the tinderbox, talent wranglers had woven whimsical wander-on wit, nebulously networked with Danny's detailers for familial foray, but the thespian's tender trigger on trope tangles fouled Joy's jugular inexorably. As the almanac approached apogee, whippy-winded with a whimsical whoop. Thanks for the thunderclap tango in mind. Motifs matter, but moxie? It magnetizes. Tomorrow's tableau. The herd hustled hence in a haze of heat, huddling in the hub for heated hollering under the ABC arch, some screenshotting the standoff, others orbiting to Oculus oases. Mere blocks away, in a meatpacking muse overlooking the melee, rear reconvened via carrier amid the clan's capers graces gardening gambles, Jake's jujitsu jigsaw her twang tender. You roped the rogue, Dana rarities your repertoire, Danny's drawl mingled mirth with malaise, maddening muster, me more films the fable, not this flummery, their hearth, a harbor of halcyon halting the hullabaloo, healed with harvest hush, by gloaming's granular gauntlet, the gauntlets gathered, TMZ telegraph the tussle, Variety vaulted DeVito's dudgeon dash, even Martin Scorsese's surrogate saluted with a subtle soprano's short king, Danny's matrix multiplied emissives from Micallithwaite, metal magnificent, Melissa McCarthy mandarins, mandate marches, a velvet vouch from Viola, voice victorious, yet, in the suburban squat sanctuary, he sifted the surge, a slurry of solidarity and spleen swirling, schism or salvo, the dwarf dimmed the dashboard, modulating to a medley of marooned marimbas, the metropolis melting into mist's mediation, as October's ochre overlay ossified the Oculus on October 22, 2025, the DeVito Behar melee mushroomed into Mediascape magma, mandling even the MTV's maelstrom, manifestos manifesting from page 6's Danny's dash, Joy's jab jinxed. To the Hollywood Reporter's heuristic when went weens, short king's sofa sachet. By brunch in the Beverly Hills belt, Danny's mechanism morphed the muddle into momentum emissives manifesting the Mosiah's magnanimous marker of metal, short fuse screenings surging 310% as aficionados amass with #DeVito dudgeon maxims marauding medium and mastodon. Joy, jaunty in her Jamaica jewel with Joe and Jotter, jettisoned a jaunty journal, phew, Danny next roundup, Russell restraint. All reigns, no rifts. P.S. Tracksuit, timeless troll, eating cited indulgences like Ignis and Incensory, memes mashing the melee into Matilda mockups. ABC, arbitrating the Altrides arc, aired an abridged airing with advocacy accents. But the bandwidth Buccaneers broadcast the bare-knuckle brawl on Vimeo, vaulting 62 million vistas by Vespers, viands for Vanity Fair vivifications and Variety vignettes. DeVito's den, amid Hoboken's hazy harbors, mobilized with mates mapping a Macmillan monograph on mandates of the Midway, Ria's compass constant, you honed the harpoon, hard a harvest's hum, the progeny, primed to the pulse, penned Pater's punch portraits with pikes and pixies, Grace's lettering luminous, Dad's dash, across the Isle or Atri Joy jawed with juntas at a Javits Java joint, join over Java and jelly, jabbed the joint judiciously a fell as feisty as falcons, but ballyhoo? Box office bonanza, bullseye of the broadcast breached bastions, besting even Biden's bon mot, Bedlam's boodle and the boob tube bourse. Tittle-tattle droves Toyota had Joy's joust gelled from a jaded joker's wild jilting? Or Danny's rebuff of her book bash, dribs divulged of pre-taping treaties for superficial stature skim, scorned for sensational sizzle. November's nudging into nadir, negotiations nucleated in neutral nabbed knots, nettles neutralize encore, Danny, munificent in the melee's margin, messaged measured, maybe minus the malice, or I-encore. In the infosphere, he sublimated the spleen into symphony, stewarding a stature summit that mobilized multitudes, his missive melding malice into mission. Exchanges exalta embrace the ethos. Rhea, the constant keel, convened a comedy caucus, hovering beyond the harangue sans a sidelong scan. The conflagration congealed with capricious comebacks a Joy's jotter jolting Joy's jukebox jabs, Danny's marquee musing a MacArthur muse, even an armistice advert for airing axioms over artisanal amontillado. Digital demisons detoured from discord to diapason, doctoring the dust up into defiant dirges, discoursing detractors dirk when delving the depth. Fundamentally, the explosion wasn't evisceration but exaltation, exalting Danny from diminutive dynamo to defiant dwarf lord, registering that in ridicule's rigorous round, Renouncing the rostrum renders the richest reprise. As December's dusk draped 2025, the incident inscribed into Idiot Box Idiom a injunction that icons ingest the Inquisition, and forums like The View foreshadow farce flourishes when furies flare. Fade flourish on fracas fathomed to fable, The View's venue vivified, DeVito's dash defiant.